Greetings everyone. Today we're going to explore proportions. We do have a note sheet for this, but if you don't have it printed off, make sure to jot these down in your notebook. Let's go over a few definitions first. A proportion is an equation that states two ratios are equal. So last week we talked about that a ratio compares two values. This lesson, we're going to take two separate ratios and set them equal to each other. We call this a proportion. Next, let's talk about a cross product. Again, if you need to at any time, pause the video and then listen once you've written it down. In this given proportion of A over B equals C over D, the products A times D, so if you need to, fill in a dot there to show that we're multiplying, and B times C are called cross products. So I always think of it as they're across from each other and we're multiplying. So we use the word product. Now if we put this all together, we have what's called the cross product property. So the cross products of a proportion are always equal. So in your notes foldable, you'll notice that I have a highlighted proportion to show you that A times D, so you've already got this in your foldable, is equal to the cross product of B times C. So we can, because of this property, always set them equal to each other. So this one's not on your note sheet. If you're writing your own notebook, just jot it down. We are going to use the cross product property. So the first thing we want to do is we want to multiply A times D, or the values across from each other diagonally. So I'm going to have a 10 times X. We multiply them. Equal sign goes in the middle. And then we're going to have the other cross product, which is 3 times 12. Let's calculate. Now we're to all of our previous steps of solving an equation. So we're going to have our 3 times 12 first, right? If we can take care of any calculations right away, do that. And I'm going to write this instead of 10.x, let's just write 10x. And now we're solving a one-step equation. Instead of x times 10, we want to undo it by dividing by 10. The opposites, we cross off, the x falls down. Now, if you have a decimal, I will be open to, if it's a clean decimal, you can write it down. If it's not a clean decimal, I want to work on reducing the fraction. So I'm guessing most of you would put 3.6, but we could also reduce this down, meaning cut in half, cut in half. We could also say 18/5. All right, this one is in your notebook, so let's try this process again. Across would be 16 times x, equal sign in the middle. Across would be 4 times 12. All right, we've got an equation. Let's use our equation solving rules. The first thing I see is I can take care of this 12 times 4, okay? Typically, you will multiply first, so keep that in mind. That's something you can make an assumption if you're not sure what to do first. Next, I have a one-step equation. Instead of x times 16, we're going to divide by 16. We're going to undo it. The x falls down, and nicely, this one divides perfectly to 3. Now let's add another element. Take a look at this top right piece. In that numerator, we have what's called an expression, meaning more than one piece. So the first thing I need you to do is get in the habit of putting parentheses around the expression. Here's how this is going to make a difference. Let's follow our steps. Cross multiply. 2 times x equals cross multiply. See, now if I would have had parentheses, I would have written this. And that doesn't look like what we've been doing. We want to put parentheses so we remember that additional step. So draw a line down the equal sign. We are going to solve using our rules, which means we need to distribute first. 3x and a negative 3. There's no combining. Let's jump to move a variable. Well, if I move the 2x, it's an empty side of the scale, so I'm going to move the 3x. Instead of positive 3x that it is, we're going to undo it and subtract 3x. Opposites, we get to cross off. The negative 3 falls down. 2x minus 3x is negative 1x. And our last step is division. So instead of times negative 1, we're going to divide by negative 1. The x falls down, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Let's look at one more. We're going to use more of our 5 solving steps here. So I see an expression on the left, so let's do parentheses. An expression on the right, right parentheses. Let's start cross multiplying. I'm going to start off with 4 times the b minus 8 equals, let's look at our other cross product, 5 times b plus 3. So now I'm going to review my 5 solving steps. Don't call me after midnight. Remember that? We're going to start off with distribution. If you need help with those 5 steps, you want to see my previous video. So I'm going to distribute first, and then distribute again. Remember, when we distribute, we're multiplying. Next step, combine. There is no combining on this problem. There's nothing I can put together. But next, I do have a move step. So what sounds easier? Should I subtract 4b or should I subtract 5b? I think subtracting 4 is going to work a little better in my favor, and it's smaller. When I subtract 4b, I've got 1b left over. Much easier. Let's drop down. The negative 32 falls down. The positive 15 falls down. Next step, we want to add or subtract a number. Well, I have to move the 15. So instead of positive 15, let's subtract 15. Opposites, we cross them off. The b falls down. Negative 32 subtract 15, negative 47. Nice clean number. You can always have fractions and decimals. That doesn't mean anything's wrong. That's going to happen quite a bit. Alrighty, so make sure you take a look at Google Classroom so you know what your task is for today. If you need help, make sure you ask questions or head over to the Sabre Center in B202. And until next time, have a good one.